Welcome to In the Space. I'm your host, Martin Sweeney, and I will be talking with friends, artists, activists, neighbors, and leaders about disability and community. In the Space is a virtual conversation acknowledging and celebrating disability culture and identity in all its history, diversity, and creative self-expression. Our thanks to Pasadena Media for making this broadcast possible. Welcome to another episode of In the Space. This is a show about community, specifically the disability community. Included are people who have acquired their disabilities at some point during their lives due to injury, illness, or aging. This is a very different experience, physically, emotionally, and mentally, than someone born with a disability. Today, we'll explore what it's like to acquire a disability and how it impacts one's identity. Joining us in today's conversation is our guest, Andrew Skinner, founder and executive director of the Triumph Foundation. Today, we'll learn about the Triumph Foundation and how it serves and supports people with spinal cord injuries. Welcome, Andrew.
Thanks for having me, Marty.
Yeah, it's great to have you here today. I like to start each show by asking guests, what connections do you have to Pasadena and Southern California?
So I currently live in Santa Clarita, but I have a great affinity and admiration for the city of Pasadena. I go down there frequently with my family to do the loop around the Rose Bowl for exercise. I've had lots of friends that have lived in the area, and so I've gotten to enjoy some of the dining down there and some of the just entertainment things, the museums and whatnot. My wife and I actually did a recent wedding anniversary celebration down there and stayed in the old town. But
wow, that's terrific.
And I've had some professional connections there too. So I'm a raving fan of the city of Pasadena in all things in San Gabriel Valley.
I'm always curious about how disability first touched someone's life. So briefly, as we move into our visit today, why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience?
Well, I kind of got submerged into the world of disability when I suffered a spinal cord injury. In 2004, I was fresh out of college. I had landed a great job. I had met the girl of my dreams, and I was up in the Big Bear Mountains by Lake Arrowhead celebrating the Thanksgiving holiday with my family. And it was a winter wonderland. And so while we were outside goofing off in the snow, building snowmen, having snowball fights and sledding, I was also snowboarding. And so I was goofing off with my cousin Doug on a snowboard, and I went off a little jump that we had made. Didn't look like a hard fall, but the landing apparently was. And I broke my 4th, 5th, and 6th cervical vertebrae in my neck, rendering me a quadriplegic. And so my whole life got turned upside down, and became a person with a disability, and was really lost in a world I never dreamed I'd become a part of. But I was very fortunate that I had a wonderful family that was there to support me. And then I had lots of amazing people that had gotten injured before me, that had disabilities of various types, that kind of rallied around me. And it was really touching and moving, and really enabled me to kind of accept this new normal and realize this was a detour in my life and not a roadblock, and a new beginning. So that's kind of my introductory really to the world of disability. And, I think in a lot of ways, it was hard to imagine when I first got hurt, but I think I'm better for it. I'm a better man, a better human being, because I've gone through some challenges and learned a lot in the process.
I'm going to play a video of some of the work that the foundation did in 2020, and then we can come back to that and we can talk a little bit about the foundation, and then we'll follow that up with a conversation about disability identity. So here's the video. This is a video about the Triumph Foundation. A little bit more about the foundation, how it started, and kind of the challenges that you all faced in 2020 with the pandemic.
Yeah, so after I got hurt, like I mentioned before, my life felt like it was shattered into a million pieces, and puzzling them back together was not an easy process, and trying to rediscover my purpose in life and maximize my abilities and adapt. And so I was really fortunate that for my initial prognosis for the damage and the level that I hurt my vertebrae and spinal cord, I made a very, very good recovery. So I'm a very blessed man. And I also, not only had a great support network, but the girl of my dreams that I mentioned before, Kirsten, stayed by my side. And that doesn't always happen. And she was really a great motivator for me. I knew I tried to push her away in the beginning, telling her I had wrecked my life and she needed to move on. And she looked at me and said, I didn't fall in love with you because you could walk. She said, I fell in love with you for what's in here. And she said, don't ever say that to me again. And from that moment, I was committed to being the best man I could possibly be. And I knew it didn't matter, how long I lived or what I was physically able to do. What mattered was how I lived. And so from that moment, I was focused on just contributing in every way I possibly could. I went back to work shortly thereafter, continued to push myself in therapy. And after about 4 or 5 years of really just focusing on myself and self-discovery and reinvention, I felt always kind of called to pay it forward and to help other people because I was embraced in such a warm and caring way by others. Well, it started off with just really a simple mission, which was we wanted to meet other people that were newly injured like I was in the hospital and just give them some hope. And we bring a care basket that was full of resources and just information I wish someone would told me about. And so that led to the development of support groups that met at these hospitals. And so one hospital turned into 2 to 3 to 4, and now Triumph is going to around 20 hospitals, including Huntington Memorial. So whenever they have a patient there that's dealing with paralysis or a mobility impairment, oftentimes they'll call us to come in as peer mentors and visit folks. And so that's always been the heart and cornerstone of what we do.
And have
from there, we
people,
just
as you've touched people's lives, have they then joined and become part of the Triumph family?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'm the founder and director, but I'm really supported by a wonderful team of ambassadors, people that have acquired a disability or born with a disability that have a heart to help other people.
I'm interested in taking a look at the differences as well as the similarities between somebody who has acquired a disability. So as a result of their disability, they have lost something, which is quite different than someone who is born with a disability. Can you tell me a little bit more about that process? And at what point does someone who has lost something and is trying to recover it begin to sort of integrate this part of disability that is identity related?
I think in the beginning with a circumstance like me, you don't affiliate yourself necessarily as a person with a disability. In the beginning, it's you want anything but. You're looking to regain as much of what you lost as possible. And I think in a lot of ways that's healthy. People want to recover, and shooting for 110% recovery is a good thing. However, there's a certain balance between, working to get your body moving again and accepting that you need to get your life moving again. And so, coming to terms with, hey, I've got to make some adjustments. I've got some adversity in my life, and it's okay to be a member of the disability community, because as you meet people, you realize that they're wonderful human beings, that the families, everybody that's kind of wrapped up in this ball that we call quote unquote disabled, which isn't the best term. We are all, just going through some challenges, but everybody goes through challenges in life, and ours tend to be more physical and be more visible. We have so much in common, and it's a rallying point. Our organization, spinal cord injuries is always going to be somewhat at the heart. It's people acquiring a disability that they never saw coming. And, there is that certain aspect of recovery and that journey that I think, others in the disability community, especially, when you're born with a certain condition, that, it takes time for us to kind of accept the place that you're in. As our organization grows, I think our mission has evolved, and the number of people that we serve has evolved. And
well, I'll tell you, after we wound up working and collaborating together on that first festival, I'm like your number one fan now. I was so moved, really, by the sense of community, which goes to what we're talking about, and the fun, literally the fun of that day, and the range of participation, where everyone was welcomed, regardless of ability, and there was a way for everyone to participate, regardless of access. That's pretty remarkable. So you guys rock.
Well, yeah, thank you. And it's about having fellowship and doing as much as you can for yourself and having fun. And we really value inclusivity. And so when we do events, we don't care, who shows up. They're going to be welcomed. They belong with Triumph Foundation. They belong in our community and have something to contribute and are valuable to us. Uh-huh. So that's really where our heart is.
It's a great example of the work that the foundation is doing. So here's a short video, and then we can talk a little bit about your experience with Pasadena. This is the Adapted Sports Festival.
So welcome everybody. This is our inaugural Adaptive Sports Festival here in Pasadena. Let's give it up. I'm so thankful everybody came out today. This is a really special weekend. We're celebrating Veterans Day, and we're blessed to live in this great nation. So we want to honor the men and women who served in our military, because without their sacrifices, none of this is possible. So let's make some noise, guys, for the veterans over here.
Well, welcome to Pasadena. This is really one of the most special events that we've had in Pasadena in a long time. And I'm so grateful to Triumph, to Allie and the department for doing all the work, and for all of you coming here today. And I hope this becomes a frequent event in Pasadena. I'm delighted to have you here.
Congratulations, my friend.
My name is Allie Everett. I'm the Accessibility Issues Coordinator for the City of Pasadena, and I'm out here today for the Pasadena Adaptive Sports Festival. The City of Pasadena is happy to partner with Triumph Foundation to make this event possible. It's the first of its kind in this community, featuring adaptive sports for all abilities, and we're really excited to bring it here as a new event to our community.
There is something inside every person who just wants to let it out. And just because you're in a wheelchair, just because you're blind, just because whatever able or disabled body you might have, people just want to get out, have fun, and socialize. And this is what this is all about, basically.
Thank you very much to Triumph Foundation for bringing their expertise and dedication and passion to this event and making it happen and making it possible here in the City of Pasadena. We're so happy to partner to make this event a reality, and we can't wait to do it again next year.
Wow, that was an amazing 2 years. And now hopefully we'll be back in the fall of 2021, given that we're coming out of the COVID-19 2020. You looking forward to it, possibly?
I'm very optimistic that we'll be able to host it this year, and I hope that everybody that's watching right now, that they come out to play. It's a life-changing event for everyone that comes out, and there's nothing else like it.
Yeah, it's really cool. What's your favorite sport?
So I play on a quad rugby team. So I play murder ball.
You're crazy.
Bumper cars and wheelchairs. And it's so much fun. And we're hopefully going to start resuming some activities like that in the coming days, and be able to put on large.
I have a good friend who loves power soccer, and boy, does she miss it.
Yeah, power soccer is another great sport that we have there. Beep baseball, which is for the visually impaired, and just so many activities, a little bit of something for everyone, and we make it work.
I was watching the youth rugby demo, and it was a real wonderful mixture of children, young kids with and without disabilities. And what an opportunity for a child who does not have a disability to be put into an empathetic experience where they could actually think about how different and how common we all are. Everybody was competing, it wasn't about disability, it was about competition.
Yeah, I think something that's special about what we do is there's some of these spend a day in a wheelchair type programs, and those are great, but I think a lot of times people come out of there and they feel sorry for the person that has to use a wheelchair or mobility device to get around. And when we challenge them to play sports and enjoy an activity together, oftentimes they're not coming out of there feeling sorry. They're coming out of there as buddies. They're coming out of there with newfound respect of, that guy is awesome. He just did circles around me and whooped my butt in the game. And they're, just have a level of respect and, that personal connection that I think just sets it apart. So
there were a lot of happy people that day. Let's hope that we will all be there in a few months. Tell me a little bit about your collaboration on that event with the City of Pasadena.
So Allie Everett, who is the Accessibilities and Disability Coordinator, I believe, with the city, has been my partner in crime. She got wind of some similar things that we had done together, and other organizations that are out there. And so we collaborated to put this together. And it's not just Triumph Foundation. I just can't stress this enough. It is a massive community effort. We bring in different programs from the beat baseball team to different art groups to you name it, to come together to put this event on. And it's just amazing. The city of Pasadena has just been so generous in devoting the park to this event, to devoting staff to the event. And it doubled in growth, I think, the second year.
Yeah.
And so it's much anticipated and will hopefully become a staple in the city of Pasadena and beyond for years to come, because it's important.
That's very, very, very cool and very exciting. And you also have a great ambassador in Cy Estabrook. So
I do. I have a number of great Pasadena residents that are ambassadors, but Cy certainly is a guy that makes a name for himself. And he not only reps us locally, but he's also one of our national representatives. We are part of United Spinal Association. And so Cy is our front man. He's just a great people person, and he genuinely cares, and smart as a whip. He's a math teacher, so
yeah, you got to watch out for those math teachers. He's great. Okay, online, I took a look at your bio on the foundation website. The Triumph Foundation website, and you had mentioned in your experience, you talked about your recovery, and you talked about the goal of being independent. Now that you're a ways out from your injury, thoughts about this notion of independence as a goal, or interdependence, knowing that we are a community that requires, to some extent, support in different ways or accommodations?
Well, I think me and with my disability, I need help, and that's just the truth. And so me becoming independent, part of that was learning how to ask and receive help, and how to direct my own care, and how to bring people together. And so, with me, it was adapting to my circumstances and learning how to not only, learn how to use my body again, but learning how to communicate effectively, and learning how to, bring different folks with different talents and strengths all together to work towards a common goal. And I really do believe that, there's a comeback story in all of us, especially after 2020. And, as people, kind of reintegrate back into life as we know it, this hopefully will be an opportunity to, merge and blend and just collaborate more together. And we want to be part of that process.
Yeah, and that's a real skill that you just mentioned, the idea of knowing how to direct people when they are there to support you. And you would think that might come naturally, but it doesn't, for all sorts of reasons.
Well, I would say the first year or two were definitely the hardest. And I think, as time goes on, you kind of just become acclimated to a certain degree of that you are special. And I think a lot of people, being special is not always a good thing. People don't always want to be different. But at a certain point, you have to get over your self-consciousness and just accept this is who you are, and start liking what you see in the mirror again. And one of my mentors told me, I used to feel similar to the way you're describing until one day I just decided that I'm a rock star. I am a celebrity, and I am going to get treated differently, and I am going to embrace it. And so when I go places, I'm going to get front row parking because I'm a rock star. And when I go up to a doorway, they're going to open those doors because here I am, I'm a rock star. And when I come through a crowd, everybody's going to all eyes on me because here I am, I'm a rock star, and I'm going to make a name for myself, and I'm going to look people in the eyes, And I'm just going to accept that, hey, this is who I am, and treat it as a gift. I really do think in a lot of ways, people with disabilities are blessed with a special gift.
And what our viewers should know is that you don't act like a rock star. One of the wonderful things I can say about you and the Triumph Foundation is how collaborative you are, how engaging and welcoming. So it's great to hear that you think you're a rock star, and it's nice to know that you don't act like a rock star. It's important. It's important for us to get the word out. I mean, this is about building community and welcoming community and showing people how you can be different and still very much connected. And that's what I'm hoping for with little tools like this show, is to reach out to people, let them know that there are organizations like the Triumph Foundation. There are people like you who are so giving. So thank you very much for being our guest today. Any closing thoughts that you have at your end about disability identity and culture?
Yeah, I just, want to stress how, we have more in common than we have differences, right? And so Triumph wants to be a gateway to opening people's eyes to different populations that are out there. And, certainly people with disabilities have their own culture, their own language, their own ways of doing things, but we are the most welcoming to everyone to come and be involved, whether you're a person that has a disability or your family member does, or you're just someone on the outside that is looking for something in their life that'll give them meaning. Come be part of our organization, come be part of our family. And there's so many wonderful, amazing organizations. Triumph Foundation is certainly plays a part, but we want to collaborate with everyone.
And you're actually based out of San Clarita?
Yeah, so we were based out of my kitchen room, my dining room table for a long time. And one of the things we did in 2020 was actually get a physical headquarters, a warehouse. So we are based out in Valencia, but we are a traveling circus. And so if there's people out there that are in the city of Pasadena or elsewhere, we meet people where they're at, and we got nothing but love for you.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you once again. And I'm going to finish actually reading a quote from your bio. And it sort of comes at the end of your sharing your story. So you write, "Life is not about how you fall. It's about how you land. And if you pick yourself up, my injury was my fall. My landing is my recovery. And what I do with my life is picking myself back up again. If there is one thing this injury has taught me, it is that you cannot wait until tomorrow." So thank you, Andrew. It's a wrap.
All right.
You can get more information about the Triumph Foundation at www.triumph-foundation.org.